So, I wanted to make a less controversial Halloween video because, of course, I kind of wanted to talk about everything I hate about indie horror games, but I'd rather stick to something positive this time. So it is a spooky video. So I'm just going to talk about some spooky games that kinda deserve your attention or something. But first, let's start about a non-horror game that's even more terrifying than actual horror games. Killer 7, the first time I played it, kind of gave me nightmares. So I ended up returning it to the game shops I usually go to. And even with my creepypasta and web series experiences, I kind of still find this game to be horrifying. And the enemy design, along with the fact that they are invisible, are absolutely terrifying. And while the voice acting is incredible for the time, the cutscenes in this game are just straight up creepy to look at. There's some kind of uncanny valley and dreadful feeling that you have when playing this game. And honestly, I haven't seen any other games pull this off. Maybe the closest thing is Deadly Premonition, but you know what? This game is just ugh. Too bad the game did not sell very well, as it was part of the Capcom 5, which was a plan in order to get new exclusives from Capcom, titles which most Nintendo fans ended up ignoring because it didn't have Mario on the cover. But who cares about the sales when you have artistic integrity? Either way, I love Killer 7 and that's it. Since we are going to talk about some weird games, let's talk about these nuts too. Starring digital actress Laura, who actually appeared in some magazines? D2 is sort of the sequel to the revolutionary game D, as well as in Enemy Zero, that one game where all the enemies are invisible and it's just dreadful. I feel like D2 is more of an alternative universe rather than an actual sequel, and apparently the second game went through a lot of changes, which is quite unusual, but whatever. It was probably to promote Laura as a digital actress. The story sounds pretty simple at first. You are Laura, and your airplane crashes in the tundra of Canada. So it is time to find survivors. D2 is a mix of an adventure game, an RPG, and an House of the Dead shooter. So you pretty much go all around the place, you fight baddies, and pretty much that's it. You'd think it would be your standard Resident Evil or Silent Hill plot, but no, it goes with a lot of harder themes. Did you want to talk about drug overdose, perhaps? Or do you want actual nudity in a video game from 1999? D2 is bold and ambitious, and kinda tackles some of the subjects that barely any games from 1999 tried to tackle. It kinda got overshadowed by Silent Hill 2, which had even more darker subjects. But you know what? D2 is part of my art forever, and it will spook me. Speaking of spooky, here is Spookware. Spookware is some kind of indie RPG where you kinda go around and fulfill missions while playing spooky minigames. It is very interesting compared to the normal WarioWare campaigns, so I easily would recommend giving it a shot, especially due to some guidelines. These characters are full of personality and interesting bits, which really helps the game stand out. And honestly, I forgot to finish it, so whenever I finish it, maybe Chapter 2 will be released. Hopefully. Frontier Diver Progenesis is a reverse shoot 'em up where you pretty much need to shoot the bullets the enemies are throwing at you. It's very interesting and has some incredibly creepy monster designs. Like most shmups, it's very short, but if you are patient enough and have zero deaths, there is apparently a secret ending. Ooh! Do you enjoy the SMT games? Well, there's They Speak from the Abyss. It's a dungeon crawler where you go around, solve puzzles, and fight enemies. The demo has a lot of lore, but it will probably be cleared up in the final game, whenever that is. There is also another kind of demo, which is apparently its own standalone game, but I haven't played it so far. So that is the Spook! Gag is a very visual novel-like game where you make choices as you get into a mysterious room with a mysterious stranger who probably has done some very bad things to you. And it is a critique of how victims of abuse are often thrown aside and ignored. But I do not want to spoil too much because there's a twist ending that just makes the entire thing even more dreadful. An Outcry is an adventure RPG game where spooky stuff happens. You locked yourself out of your apartment, but nobody wants to give you smokes nor talk to you. So there are a flock of malicious crows that you must fight. I think the game has multiple choices that really affect the gameplay, so whoops. Either way, I still love this game very much, and also it's pretty dear to my heart because, you know, gender. Imagine Shadow the Hedgehog, but every level is its own game. That's pretty much what's changed is a bunch of people collaborated to make a bunch of spooky games with an interconnected narrative, and it's really interesting to play. This one is free, so I'd easily recommend it to absolutely everyone. Also, no, I do not want to spoil anything, because some of these games are kind of insane. So I'd recommend you players to just experience the game yourself, just like Shadow the Hedgehog. Hey, remember when I was supposed to talk about one more Sega Saturn-like game? Well, I forgot! The thing about some Saturn games is that they included some FMVs, and yes, it was mostly CG. Aside from Amanda the Adventurer, I kind of wish there were more games with weird CGs. Okay. Well, this is exactly what I was searching for. That's kinda it. Archangel Nemesis is apparently some kind of visual novel episodic, but right now episode 1 and 2 are only available on a background of some shady website, but my antivirus didn't pick anything up, so it's probably safe for everyone. Twigs is an ordinary high schooler, but she's homeschooled and also has to deal with religion tests, where she pretty much has to deal with some electronic waves or something. But either way, the game has a lot of lore, a lot of world building, and is very, very scary in some parts. Yeah, there are some jump scares, but just don't worry, they don't last very long. But here's an honest warning, the game deals with a lot of abusive topics, as well as some very disturbing visuals, so just be warned that you're about to play a spooky game. Also, the reason why it's on a website is apparently because the author kind of wants to remake these games and rewrite them, so playing it semi-legally is the only way to play it. Links are in the description. So either way, that was it for all the spooky games I got. Happy Halloween, have a nice day, and etc, etc, etc. I'm just continuing this so that you